And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. My partner is Ryan Holmes. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's been nice and warm. It was in the 80s today.
It just dropped like under 70 right now tonight. It's pretty good.
I got nice, 72 currently where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. R2PW podcast is my Twitter handle, and then Ryan's is R Home 22. Definitely check him out. We're doing a lot of stuff. The draft is coming up, so you want to pay attention to that part. Paris, Texas, Butte, Montana, Atlanta, Georgia, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Who the Bucks just destroyed my Lakers the other day. Scored 140 points, but they look like the real deal. Like they could possibly go back to back as the Lakers continue to struggle, but that's what happens here. A lot of things going on since we last talked, and I think before last time we talked, we had the guys behind me are now officially in charge of the Raiders' future. We'll talk about that, but let's go ahead and hit this mailbag real quick. From the 858 J wants to know about who do you like for a free agent wide receiver for the Raiders, because they might be in a market for one. Now we all know who. For us, we're realists. We're not going to talk about Davante Adams. Who do you like as a free agent wide receiver?
That's a tough one. I'm going to bring up the list here real quick. The first thing that comes to mind is Allen Robinson. Kind of an X receiver, a bigger guy, possession guy that can win in this type of offense. Like McDaniel's isn't going to be calling a ton of deep shots. They're not going to be pulling a ton of coverage with those kind of guys. They need a volume guy that can win in the intermediate area. So immediately Allen Robinson jumps out. Kind of, looking at the list here, that they need an outside guy because clearly they're going to have Renfro on the inside. So a Juju Smith-Schuster can probably cross him off. Davante Adams is going to get franchised. Chris Godwin, if he becomes available, depending on the injury and his recovery, could be someone, but I think he's going to be a little too pricey. He'll probably end up back in Tampa. But it's, and then you get into some of the older guys, the Sammy Watkins, the AJ Greens, those kind of guys. So I would circle Allen Robinson right at the top as kind of the guy. I'm looking down the list here.
I'm looking to see if I can find somebody who played for
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk is a good player.
Christian Kirk would be a good one. I would take Odell Beckham Jr. depending on the market. I think he's a guy, but they're probably going to focus on that mid-tier guy. They're not going to spend a ton of money at the wide receiver position.
No.
So I think like a Christian Kirk, like a younger guy that's explosive, those type of guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know that maybe a pull off a trade for Brandon Cook, somebody who played in this offense. I've been reading about this offense. Where's this book? I've been reading this book about this offense here. It's interesting as hell to reading about what the Patriots have done in their passing game, and I think I can see why outside receivers when they've drafted some. Now listen, they could have drafted the wrong receivers. I mean, they passed on some good receivers to take some bad ones. But maybe I think it's a lot. They do a lot of reading outside the numbers there with those wide receivers. So that's why I think a veteran pass catcher is going to be a must. If they want to draft a receiver in the draft, they can do that as well. But they definitely need a veteran wide receiver on the outside who can read coverages and all that stuff like that as well. So 76 Lee from the 760 wants to know about tight end. Could you think the Raiders could upgrade at the tight end position this year?
I expect them to upgrade at the tight end position because I think I don't. We hear a lot about Hunter Moreau. He's going to be a free agent after next year. Is he a guy that the new regime is going to want to plug money into because he's going to want to get paid? I could absolutely see them drafting a guy like Jeremy Ruckert at Ohio State, taking a tight end in the third or fourth round. Depending on what they want to do with Darren Waller, we don't know. Maybe they want to line him up at X receiver like John Gruden did. Maybe they want a more inline blocking tight end to go to some of that 12 personnel. So it would not shock me if A, they signed a veteran tight end that was more of a blocker, and B, took one in the middle rounds.
You want to see some? The list is pretty hefty right here. You have Ertz, you have Graham, you have Gronkowski, CJ Uzuma, Eric Ebron, Jared Cook, Gerald Everett, Max Williams. This is a pretty good class. OJ Howard, Lee Smith retired, but they have some really good.
Gesicki.
Jaceki,
There's
yeah,
a ton of tight ends.
This is a ton of tight ends. They might grab a couple of guys here. Like I am looking at this list. I think Foster's job could be in jeopardy. Competition is definitely coming for Foster if I look at this one, because I mean, even if you go second tier on this list, there's going to be some quality guys for the Raiders to kind of choose from. So,
yeah, I'd look at more of the blocking type of tight end here. So a guy that can be a two-way guy as a tight end would probably fit in there. I don't know if they're going to go straight blocker like a Jesse James or Levine Todalelo. Robert Tonyan's a free agent. Moali Cox is a free agent. There's a bunch of guys. There's probably 15 free agents.
It's a really
that
good
could
class.
be starters.
I mean, I also like. I mean, if you're looking for a pass catching tight end, I always felt like Gesicki. If he ever went with a better passer, he could really shine in that situation. He looks really. Every time I see the Dolphins play, he has great hands. He can make things happen. Gerald from 718 wants to know, who do we fear the most? My answer would probably be all of them, but it's Jackson, Mahomes, Herbert, or Burrow going forward.
It's still Mahomes. He's in the division. He's the king right now. He's been to the Super Bowl 3 times in 4 years. We can talk about the rest of the guys all we want. They have to go through Mahomes. Yeah. So until the Raiders can compete and beat the Chiefs, at least split with them on a regular basis, that's the guy you fear.
Yeah, that's the guy you fear the most. I mean, there is part of me that says, hey, the off season comes and maybe the Bengals go out there and get some good improve on offensive line. But it seems like everybody has a bad offensive line right now in football. Like a lot of teams have struggle on the offensive line right now as far as that goes. And we joked about that on our text thread. Is Jimmy G be an upgrade from Derek Carr? And I would say no.
I would say no. Jimmy G is probably in that 15 to 20th range. Like, you can win with him, but he's got to have the run game. He's got to have a dominant defense. He's going to make that poor decision at the wrong time. He's got to have an offense that uses play action, that uses the middle of the field, that's got some dynamic run after the catch guys like he has. He has the right personnel around him in San Francisco. Clearly, I think he ends up in Pittsburgh, just gut feeling. Kind of an offense to build to get around the ball, get the ball out. They have Najee Harris. Hopefully they resign Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson. They're used to getting the ball in those guys' hands in space. And they have a good defense. So he needs a roster like that. He's not a better quarterback than Derek Carr.
No, he's not. He is not. I know we have issues with Derek Carr, but he's not better than Derek Carr. The Pro Bowl. I put this in the list because I want people to understand my feelings about the Pro Bowl. So I'm surprised they don't just play this game without helmets on, period, because just so they can market players and players can become more famous, stuff like that. But this is for the kids. This is for the kids. This is not, it's always been for the kids. Like, when I was growing up, watching the Major League Baseball All-Star game was my everything in the summertime. Like, I was the one night where my parents were pretty strict. They knew that it was tooth and nail getting me to go. I wasn't going to go to bed early for that night. I would be like, I'm watching that whole game. And it's the reason why I started loving sports, is watching those all-star games. It's an all-star game. Football doesn't lend itself to being an all-star game in any way, shape, or form, because it's violent as hell. But like, it's a game just for the kids. Like, let them have that game. Like, nobody takes it seriously. You got people like Mac Jones in it, like, doing dances, like, just so the kids the kids all know what dance he did. Like, it's the same dance that Adam Schefter broke his leg on. So it to me, it's not really a game where I take seriously. I know people on Twitter were going nuts and taking it all seriously, but I don't know how you feel about it. But the Pro Bowl is just not something. It's almost to the point where it's like the NBA All-Star game, where it's just, high scoring, throw the ball all over the place, and then, make some things happen and have people, kind of get more notoriety than they had before.
Yeah, I got a couple thoughts on this. So growing up, I'd watch the Pro Bowl. Like, it was somewhat competitive. There was still tackling. Clearly, when I turned it on this year, and I'll be honest, I haven't watched it in a few years, I was like, what's going on? Like, they're blowing. It was two-hand touch. It was literally two-hand touch. Yeah. And I get it. It's the end of the year. Some of these guys haven't played in a month. Some of them are about to hit free agency. What I would do is I would say, screw it, put the soft helmets on. Let's play flag 7-on-7 and let's throw this thing around the park. Let's play 7-on-7 if that's what we're going to do. That would be way more entertaining than what I watched for about 5 plays before I turned it off. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when they did the beach stuff in the sand, and Robert Edwards tore up his knee. Like, so I'd be all for 7-on-7, get the linemen off the field. Let's watch these quarterbacks. Let's watch these wide receivers. I think that would be fun. A lot of these guys did that growing up. It'd be a lot more entertaining. We don't need to play two-hand touch with helmets. Put the soft helmets on they use in training camp. We saw some teams go to that. So I would be more into that. You know, I was a big NBA guy growing up. So the slam dunk contest in the late 80s with Dominique and Jordan, like that's what I wanted to see. I have no interest in watching the Pro Bowl in its current format. None whatsoever.
I don't watch. The only All-Star I will tune in for half of the baseball one because it's the one that's closest to a game. But everything else is just like I just have no interest for it. But like my nieces and nephews will like they're glued to it. They love those All-Star games. So let them watch it. I mean, let them have it. Like Trick Daddy says, for the kids.
On the baseball All-Star game, I do like that there is the winning team does get home field advantage, that there is a tie in there.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost interest, to be honest, when they started putting a ton of relievers on these rosters, and it's not like give me the old days when you had 11 starters that were dudes that were going out there. I want to see Pedro Martinez throw an inning and Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. I don't need to see the sixth inning guy on the Milwaukee Brewers throw an inning in the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Give me starters and closers in that game. Get rid of the middle relievers.
Yeah, the relievers are all over the place in that All-Star game, no question about it. What would the contract be? Justin wants to know what would the contract be? Look, if the Raiders did make a push to get J.C. Jackson, who's a free agent.
Well, it's going to get franchise tagged, so we can start there. He's not leaving New England. They have $8 million in cap room. They can create 20 to 30 million pretty easily. I looked at some of those contracts.
Yeah. No quarterback to pay.
No, and the franchise number is 17.5, so they could easily get that in there. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's assume he hits the market. You're probably looking at 5 years, $100 million with maybe $60 to $70 million guaranteed. It's going to be at least 50. That's probably going to fall around 60. I can't pay that. I would not pay that to a defensive back. As good as it is to have that guy, then they can just throw at the other guy. And the Raiders have had the shutdown corner in their history. You better have a good guy opposite him. And they just don't have the cap room, I think, the Raiders, to be able to afford a contract like that. And I don't think this regime is going to come in here and spend it all on one or two guys. They're going to want depth. And the Raiders have a ton of holes. I just did another podcast this week with the Full Press Raiders, and the Raiders have one defensive tackle under contract right now. It's Kendall Vickers. That's it. They have one. They have 3 corners under contract. They have 3 safeties under contract. Like they have 35 guys, I think, is the last count. So they have nowhere near to the roster they're going to have when the season starts.
Yeah, it's going to look totally different. I heard that podcast as well. So you did a good job there, but it's definitely going to be a totally mess here. So. Okay, so Brian Flores. This is an interesting situation for Brian Flores. So there are, since the Rooney Rule started 20 years ago, there's been 129 opportunities to be a head coach. African Americans have filled 15. Right now, currently, there's 6 GMs. The league is made up of 70% African Americans. The defensive coordinators are 11. Offensive coordinators are 4. The special teams coaches are 8. The quarterback coaches are 3. And I said GMs are 3 as well, are 6. And then the last note I had on the whole diversity thing was Eric Bieniemy has interviewed 20 times and he's 0 for 20. So with that being said, it is very difficult to find a way to fix this issue, to be honest, because how are we to make, somebody who sits down and envisions somebody who looks like, Sean McVay or Shanahan as their head coach, and doesn't want to hire somebody else. That's kind of the issue. I don't know how to solve it. I don't know what your thoughts about the whole Flores thing. I did read the entire affidavit, and it's pretty long and extensive, and went through the whole history of NFL and what's going on there as far as race goes. What are your thoughts about, like, what can they? Goodell said they failed, they failed, or they can do better. How can they possibly kind of fix this issue here for the league, as far as hiring people, hiring head coaches of color?
Here's how I would fix it. And I think this starts, it's not, the owners aren't changing hands. These teams aren't changing hands of ownership. So we're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to have 32 basically white owners with a ton of money, that some of these have family involved. So it has to go to the decision-making process. They have to have African-Americans filter into the GMs, which they have made progress there. They need more. So now you're seeing assistant GMs. You're seeing Champ Kelly. You're seeing assistant GMs that are African-Americans getting in. Now they need to get into coordinator positions. A lot of teams are hiring. You've seen African-American offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. I think the real problem comes to is they're incentivizing teams that lose a coordinator to a head coaching job. They need to go the other route. I incentivize teams to hire them. Yeah. If you hire an African-American head coach, you get a compensatory round two. You get a pick at the end of the second round. Yeah. Give these teams advantages to hire them. We're giving away comp third and fourth and fifth round picks for free agency. We're giving teams, the San Francisco 49ers are getting 4 third-round draft picks because they've lost coordinators. Let's incentivize the teams for doing the right thing and hiring them. So if you have 2 guys in the room and it's a white guy and an African-American, they're equally talented, they're equally qualified, it sucks to say this, but incentivize them to hire them. If you take the African-American, you get a second-round pick. Make them make these decisions. They're more than qualified. They're just not getting the jobs because the owners don't look like them. They don't relate to them. And I think that's the only way to do it, is you have to incentivize the teams to hire those people. And they're more than qualified to do it. And I'm excited to see what Champ Kelly's going to do. I want to see if Louis Riddick gets the job in Pittsburgh.
That's interesting.
Maybe Brandon Hunt gets the job in Pittsburgh. But, I would go that route. Instead of giving teams picks for losing coordinators, give them picks for hiring African Americans.
Yeah, they got to do. I mean, they got to do something here. What do you feel about, like? It's interesting because, like, these other leagues feel like the commissioner definitely 100% works for the. I mean, the commissioner always works for the owners, right? But in basketball, like when they had that, as soon as that crisis mode had hit with Adam Silver and the Clipper owner, he gets boom, he's gone. If this is proven to be correct, that Flores was incentivized with cash payments to lose games on purpose, I mean, Stephen Ross isn't there grinding with the team anyways. He's in New York the whole season.
On his yacht.
Yeah, on his yacht, seriously. So, like, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, this is a guy who, like, can he still own the team? Like, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that a guy can do that and still own a football team.
I don't think they can take the team away from him for that, but it is a competitive balance issue that does need to be addressed. There needs to be severe fines and possibly forfeitures of draft picks. I'm interested to see what's going to happen to Daniel Snyder now that there's a second investigation. I thought it was funny that
he gets to pick the investigators.
Yeah, and then Roger Goodell came out and said, "Well, the team can investigate themselves." Where were you, Roger, when they did it last time?
Yeah.
Why is this any different? So, yeah, the commissioner definitely works for the owners in every sport, but I think those two owners are going to be under a lot of heat here over the next 6 months, and we'll see how the league addresses that issue.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens as far as that goes. Basically a lot of head coaches. Let's we don't know what the team's gonna look like. We don't know what the staff's gonna look like. We're gonna run through these real quick and just see a couple thoughts about some of these hires. First, it looks like Minnesota's gonna hire Kevin O'Connell. I just think he is. If you're the gardener for Sean McVay, you can get an interview in the NFL. I mean, that's basically what it kind of comes down to. They want an offensive coach. Everybody wants an offensive coach. I think the Eagles did a study where it talked about, like, there is no like there's more probably offensive coaches, but there's no definitive number that they're more successful than other defensive coaches. But what are your thoughts about O'Connell getting the Vikings job?
They better be right because they passed up more qualified
Yes, they did.
guys with better resumes. This may have come down to money. I would assume he was probably the cheapest of the guys that interviewed there. I don't know how they didn't interview Byron Leftwich. I never heard his name associated with Minnesota. I thought he would be a good candidate there. I thought Harbaugh was going to get that job when he went to take that interview, and he worked with the new GM when the GM was in San Francisco. That would probably, my guess, this came down to money. There are reports he was looking for upwards of $9 million. So I could understand why they didn't do that, especially if you can get O'Connell for a half, maybe less than half of that, maybe in the $4 to $5 million range. On a lesser length, probably a 4-year deal. And I'm sure Harbaugh was trying to get the Gruden deal where he wanted 7, 8, 10 years. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. He doesn't really have a ton of experience. He's just been around McVay. He's going to have to learn on the job. I think he's in a situation where maybe they took him because he does have a relationship with Kirk Cousins. He was on the staff in Washington when McVay and those guys were there, and maybe they're banking on that. Because whoever the coach was going to be is going to have to be okay with Cousins for at least a year. He's got a $45 million cap hit. But it'll be interesting. There were better candidates out there than Kevin O'Connell, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no question about it. I totally agree with that part of it. Eberflus, we talked about Eberflus there, and was he going to be a guy who are people are going to hire a coach who just love to play that cover 2 and do all that stuff like there? I mean, especially in Chicago, it seems like they have some of the pieces for that, but to play his defense and play it well. But what are they going to do on the offensive side of the ball? Like, can we trust that development for the quarterback? Because they have a young quarterback there who needs to get things right for them to be a decent football team.
Yeah, and that was the question. You have a rookie head coach in Eberflus, and what is he going to do on the offensive side? And then they went out and hired Luke Getsy, who came over from the Packers, who hasn't called plays, and he doesn't have experience as a play caller. I have a lot of questions there. You have a first-time play caller and a first-time defensive head coach, and you're trying to build around a rookie quarterback who needs a guy that can build an offense around him. So we'll see what Getsy does there, but I have serious questions about the staff that Chicago's putting together. Not even just the offensive coordinator. When you just look at kind of the rest of the staff they're putting together around them. Same thing in Jacksonville. I have a lot of questions with the guy. I'm kind of glad the Raiders didn't hire Doug Peterson after seeing some of the guys they're hiring in Jacksonville as well.
Let's just roll over to Jacksonville now. Jacksonville hires Doug Peterson. Gonna be that quarterback whisperer, I guess. Obviously, this is a situation where he hired him because the other candidate wanted him to leave. So he wasn't gonna hire Leftwich and then go walk off to the sunset and have him and Adrian Wilson run the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that was pretty much, to save his own hide here with Doug Peterson going to Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's won a Super Bowl. He's developed quarterbacks. He has an understanding of what the quarterback room needs to be. I don't mind that hire. It's more the coordinators he's putting around them, the position coaches, kind of the guys that haven't really been doing it a lot lately. And he's just adding guys that he's had relationships with in the past that he coached with at different stops. It's the old buddy network. I don't think that Doug Peterson surrounding himself with elite coaches and an elite staff, which he's going to need to develop this roster. So hopefully Trevor Lawrence develops, because if he doesn't, that staff's going to be out of there in about 2 years.
Yeah, no question about it. We're going to roll. Let's go to Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. I mean, this is it was funny because I was looking at Denver's points per game last year, and Nathaniel did a good job. I mean, they only gave up like 18 points a game. When you consider what their offense was, they actually were a pretty good defensive team last year. But Hackett is there for offense. We don't know where. I don't really believe until I see it and see him actually in another uniform. I don't believe that that quarterback is from Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere, but we'll see. We'll see what happens as far as that goes. They got to get a quarterback, and I don't think Drew Lock is the answer.
Now, again, this is another one where are they playing the Aaron Rodgers card here, thinking that Hackett can bring him? If he doesn't, Again, I have a ton of questions. Hackett called plays in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, but he didn't do it in Green Bay. He brings over a first-time offensive coordinator in Justin Outen, which is fine because Hackett's going to call the plays here. But when you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, like there's not really a defensive coach over there that to me is a difference maker. He needs guys with experience, guys that have been head coaches to help him. I just don't see that yet on the Broncos coaching staff. So a lot of first-time coaches are bringing in guys they've worked with that don't necessarily have the experience in these upper-level positions.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the past that hasn't really worked at most staffs.
Yeah. Question about it. Before we get
Sean McVay was smart. He went out and got Wade Phillips and said, "Run the defense."
Yeah, run the defense. Yeah, that was really smart. The relationship or not, whether we knew him or not, he just grabbed him. You know, he looks like he could be serving your coffee at Starbucks. But Mike McDaniel is now the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and I mean, this is interesting because what kind of staff is he going to bring? How is he going to improve on what they did last year? Because they had 2 consecutive winning seasons, very close to making the playoffs and all that stuff like that. But I mean, he's talking to 2 on the plane, fresh suit, talking about he's going to make. I don't know how you make Tua special, but in the NFL level, we'll have to see about that. I know they're going to try to do the run game and all the stuff you're going to see from that you saw from his time with San Francisco, with Shanahan didn't call plays there either. Another non-play caller, getting a head coaching job. But what are your thoughts about Mike McDaniel going to Miami?
I like the fit for the offense because to me, Tua has to play in a West Coast offense, and they're bringing that over. My question is, he doesn't have an offensive line in Miami like he had in San Francisco. There is no Trent Williams. There's no Alex Mack. He doesn't have those stalwarts. They have a bunch of young guys who just haven't played well. So unless they severely upgrade that offensive line, they're not going to be able to do there what they do in San Francisco. They don't have backs. They don't have, other than Waddle, who can be a run after the catch. They don't have a George Kittle. They're going to have to hopefully re-sign Gesicki. But what are they going to do on defense? That team was carried by defense. I saw a stat. I'm trying to remember talking about Miami. The Dolphins haven't had a top 10 offense. It's been like 15 or 20 years. It's been a long time since they've had a top 10 offense. This is 15
years since they had the top 10 offense.
It's been a long time. It might have been longer than that.
Jesus.
But this is a team that hasn't. This is a team that's gotten by playing really good defense for a long time. They've lost Flores. It sounds like they may be bringing in an outside defensive coordinator. I don't know if they're going to keep a lot of that defensive staff there. We're going to have to see what kind of staff he puts around him. Again, it's a first-time guy who hasn't been a play caller. Is he going to go out there and get the veteran guys with experience to learn from? I mean, at least Brian Daboll went out and got Wink Martindale and said, "Hey, Wink, run the defense while I do the offense." Like, I don't see that with any of these other first-time coaches.
Yeah, I mean, Wade's on Twitter. Call Wade.
Yeah.
Call Wade. Before we hit the Raiders real quick, Daboll, we're gonna, chicken or the egg. Was it some of his play calling mixed with the great athleticism of Josh Allen? People are kind of questioning what I just listen. He obviously had some part of development of Josh Allen. Josh Allen went all world this year. We all know that he looked incredible. In the playoff loss to the Chiefs. I like Daboll in this spot. I just don't know, and I think Wink Martindale's gonna be fine there as well. I just don't know. Again, if they have a quarterback, they're not hiring a new head coach. I just worry about Daniel Jones and like that conversation about Daniel Jones. Like, I mean, it's just you can't really feel like you're going to resurrect a guy who plays the way he plays, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, decision-making, fumbling, turnovers, those are the hallmarks of Daniel Jones. Now, the question I have is, you saw in Buffalo, because of the physicality of Josh Allen, there was built-in run plays, power sweeps to the quarterback draws. The called running back or quarterback runs, is he going to do that with Daniel? Because Daniel Jones is an athletic guy, but he doesn't nearly the size and strength that Josh Allen did. Can he survive a season doing that, or is he going to have to change the offense to more of a drop back style? That's what I want to see. And he doesn't have a Cole Beasley slot receiver. He doesn't have a Stephon Diggs outside there. What are they going to do with Saquon Barkley? Are they going to pay him, or is because Dable's not a guy that really emphasizes the run game. So I'm interested to see. They're going to probably lose Ingram. They have Tony, obviously. What are they going to do with Galladay? What are they going to do with Slayton? What are they going to do with some of those wide receivers? What are they going to do with Shepard? And see, and what are they going to do on the offensive line? Because
it's bad.
The skill position players there are nowhere near what they have in Buffalo.
Yeah, no question about that. Let's flip over to the silver and black side of the story here. Ziegler, McDaniels. I like the staff he's kind of putting together or whatever. So we'll see what happens there. But what are your this wasn't I can't imagine that this was your number one choice for the Raiders. I don't think it was mine. But what are your now that it's here and he is the head coach, what are your thoughts about Josh McDaniels taking over the silver and black?
Yeah, I'm kind of on board with it now. Obviously, Harbaugh would have been a good pick, but not of what he was asking for. Mm-hmm. I like that there is alignment here, that you have two guys that have worked together, that have a relationship, that have been buddies since going back to college, so they can have conversations where ego is not going to be involved. Clearly, Mark Davis made a comment during the press conference that there was some conflict between Mayock and Gruden. There was some indecisions between the two that needed to get taken care of. He didn't want that in this case. Seeing the staff that, Doug Peterson was a guy we talked about, seeing the staff he put together, I'm glad they didn't get him. But I really like the fact they brought in Champ Kelly as an assistant GM. They're going to and this was my big selling point on the podcast. Whoever was going to get this job could do whatever they wanted on the football side of it, because Gruden ran it. So Ziegler's come in, he's hired an assistant GM. I'm sure they're going to upgrade the scouting staff. They're going to have more scouts. They already have a system together where McDaniels and the coaching staff can talk to Ziegler. They know what they're looking for in players. At the end of the day, they're still going to have to draft the right players, and they're still going to have to win. It comes down to winning. So we can talk about McDaniels all we want, but the fact that he can come in and take over the offense, he has pieces. He has a tight end. He has a running back. He has a slot receiver, kind of what he's used to working with. Yeah. He has a veteran quarterback. They need to upgrade the offensive line. And I like the fact he brought in a defensive coordinator that's experienced, who's one of the top guys, and he can say, Patrick, run the defense. I'm going to worry about the offense. So to me, the two most important positions non-coordinator-wise on a staff are the offensive line coach, which we still don't know who it was going to be. There was rumors it might have been Doug Marrone. He got hired by the Saints, so it won't be him. And the DB coach. You need to have a top-flight offensive line coach and a DB coach. I do like Jason Simmons, who came over from Carolina. It sounds like he's going to be the passing game coordinator. He has worked with Patrick Graham in the past. I believe they worked together in Green Bay. And then Chris Ash, I don't know a ton about him, but he's been a defensive coordinator at Ohio State and Texas. He's been a head coach at Rutgers, which looks like it was a complete failure. I don't know much about what went on during his tenure at Rutgers. And then he coached for Jacksonville last year as a safeties coach. So the fact they have multiple coaches back there in the secondary, it sounds like Andre Carter, the ex-Raider and Cal Berkeley Bear, is interviewing for the defensive line coach. So maybe he comes back. He's coached a 3-4 front with the Jets as a defensive line coach, so I wouldn't mind that. But to me, who's going to be the offensive line coach? I need to see that. I'm not a big fan of the special teams coach. Denver's been horrific covering kicks. Now, a lot of that is it's a small sample size, because I think they only had 14 kicks returned all of last year, but they gave up nearly 40 yards a kick or something like that. They were the worst in the league. They don't cover punts very well, which is surprising, because in Denver, maybe it's due to the altitude. Maybe you're kicking the ball 55 yards and coverage can't get down there. It's going to be really hard to mess up this special teams unit with the Raiders, because you have a really good kicker and the best punter in the league. To me, that the coverage units need to improve. And if the Raiders start giving up a ton of field position because their special teams units can't cover, that's a fail. So we'll see.
No question about that. I feel like they entered the new age of football with these hires. I feel like, this guy has been a kind of a top guy, and I think last year was a really good indication of like the way the Patriots played it in the red zone, the way they could move the football, with a rookie quarterback. They ran the football when they had to. So all those things like that, Hunter Henry was able to get loose where Darren Waller could probably kind of fit right in there as far as that goes. So I think, obviously, 100 catch season for Hunter Renfrow. He's probably, kind of salivating as far as working with Hunter Renfrow there as well. And I think the more and more I watch, to all 22 of things the Giants did, And when you see the names on the back of the jerseys who are, holding these teams to 20 points or less, it's like, it's pretty impressive because he's not doing it with, a bunch of all-stars. They had a lot of injuries last year. And then he's able to, when you are able to teach the backups to perform at a high level and, and cause havoc up front, they were able to make sure Leonard Williams got loose. I love when you ask him, hey, a 4-3, 3-4, he says yes. Like that's his answer to it. Like he's not gonna pigeonhole himself into anything, because what they're gonna be better at, I feel like, with these two guys is it's a week to week. 1 week is gonna be, hey, we gotta throw the ball 40 times to win with Derek. The next week is gonna be Josh Jacobs and a rookie running back or Drake is going to be eaten in those situations. So that's what I kind of like, is that more of that week to week approach, opposed to this is what we do. I'm going to have my chest out. I'm the big head coach, and we're gonna do this because that's what I know. They're going to be more multiple in that sense of it, as far as that goes.
I would caution the Raider fans that liked the defensive line group this year, to let them know that it's going to look completely different.
Way different.
Just looking at the Giants, their top 4 defensive linemen last year were all 6'4" plus, and they were anywhere from 315 to 340. Mm-hmm. They were big dudes: Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, Austin Johnson. There's another guy in there too that was big, Danny Shelton. Mm-hmm. So the Raiders don't have any of those guys other than Hankins, who's a free agent. Most of the guys the Raiders had were more 3 techniques, 290 pound, 295 guys that could get upfield. The Giants want big bodies that are space eaters. Max Crosby is going to play outside linebacker in this defense in a 3-4. He's not going to play defensive end. Cleveland Farrell, as much as Raider fans want to believe that, he was probably playing in the mid 260s last year. He leaned out a lot. He put on a lot of weight going to year 2 to be a run stuffing end, and then he leaned out. Like, asking him to get up into the 290 to 300 range isn't feasible. I don't see a role in this 3-4 defense for him. They're clearly going to have to go out and acquire 3 or 4 defensive linemen. And just look at the guys New England had, the Lawrence guys, those kind of the lunch pail guys that are going to be 2 gappers and take on blocks. I think they're fine at the linebacker spot. Obviously, they can draft some young edge rushers to develop. You still have Malcolm Kuntz. Ngakoue, I don't think Ngakoue can play outside linebacker and base, but they're going to be in nickel so much, and he's just going to be rushing the passer, that they just need a guy that can do it when they're in base defense. And I do like Diablo and Perryman at inside backer in a 3-4. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of change on the defensive line, and the Raider fans that think that Jefferson and Solomon Thomas and those guys are coming back, I just don't see those guys as fits in Patrick Graham's defense.
Yeah, so we're going to see Raider fans, when Darius Philon has a couple sacks with the Colts, they're going to be bitching.
Yeah. You're going to see like 6'4", 320-pound lunch pail run stuffers that had 1 sack last year get signed, and the guys are going to lose their minds. Like, why are we signing this guy? He's not good. Yeah. They're asking them to 2-gap. They're asking them to eat blocks. They need those big guys so that they can play a 3-4. This is a 3-4 defense. We can talk about multiple fronts all we want. When they're in base, they're going to be in a 3-4, and then when they go to nickel, they're going to take the nose off and they're going to bring the slot in. And so your outside linebackers, and you're going to take the 2 defensive end and move them inside the defensive tackle, so they can play a 4-man front in nickel. But in base, this is a 3-4 defense.
Yeah, no question about it. We'll see what happens there. Talk about the coaching staff, talked about McDaniel's front office. So the GM and the assistant GM, they all have that relationship here. Did see somebody made the video for, if that's an incident to you, with Hobbs in the car begging the officer not. Listen, I don't know between him and what happened with Alvin Kamara at the Pro Bowl, I'm not, I don't think it's, like I said, with Kamara, it's not, I don't think it's a Vegas thing. I think it's just a thing that I gotta kind of wait till all the details come out. Because he plays in a party city in New Orleans. It's not like he's playing in Fargo, whatever, wherever Fargo is. I think North Dakota. Well, I don't know where it is, but he's not playing. He's not playing there. He's playing in New Orleans, and if you've been in New Orleans, you know how that is. Is it? You feel like this is more of like is the as far as this is just them, the previous administration not doing their due diligence, or do you feel like this is going to be a problem going forward? I think that's probably the best way I can put it.
I don't think it'll be a problem going forward. I think the new staff sees what happened. They're going to probably do much more work on the background of some of these players and understanding the type of guys they need on this team. I still remember what happened when the Super Bowl was in Atlanta about 20 years ago, but we don't want to talk about that. But I thought it was interesting in the Hobb video. I watched about half of it. Like, they immediately took him out of the car and handcuffed him for speeding. I thought that was kind of weird. I know it was reckless driving or whatever they called it, but I don't know why they handcuffed him. I stopped watching it after that, but
yeah,
obviously Nate Hobbs needs to make better life choices and better decisions, because it was 2 weeks prior to that he got arrested for a DUI, which they found his blood alcohol was just under the limit. So he clearly was drinking, probably was intoxicated at some point when he passed out in the car. But this is happening. I mean, you had Ruggs, you had Arnett, you had Jacobs. Now you've had, obviously, with Hobbs. So something's not adding up here. And these guys that have saw what happened to Ruggs, and the fact that Hobbs got in trouble twice in a vehicle, that's just so hard for me to comprehend. Like, he's and can the Raiders count on him going forward? I don't know. I don't know if you can. They're obviously not going to move on. He's going to be on the roster next year, barring him doing something again this offseason and getting into trouble. But he clearly needs to make better life choices.
Yeah, no question about it. Yeah, it just makes it's just, and we don't. I mean, like, it's an opportunity for, it's great. Listen, we can talk about the opportunity all we want, but like, athletes don't, they just don't. They see the world a little differently than we do. Biggest what was it? What it had? The biggest one thing you don't want to see the Raiders do in the draft, coming up in that first round.
One thing I don't want to see him do.
I think
you already know what I'm going to say. I don't want to see him draft Jordan Davis out of Georgia. Yeah. To me, he's a. I don't even want to say he's a 2-down player in today's NFL. He's a 1-down player. Like, you're going to get him on the field for in base only. He's not going to be on the field in nickel. What kind of stamina? He doesn't give you anything in the pass rush. He's going to look great on short yardage and goal line, but you can get those kind of players later in the draft. This guy's not Vita Vea. He's not that kind of athlete. He doesn't have that kind of pass rush. It looks great in college where he can stand on the field and he's just bigger and stronger. He can push guys around. I know the Raiders need a 3-4 nose. I'd be much more comfortable taking Travis Jones in the second round, because at least, he's still 6'4", 345 or something, or 325, but he can still offer some pass rush. And to me, it's in the first round, you're looking for guys that can be difference makers in an organization. And to me, you're looking for a quarterback, an offensive tackle, a pass rusher, or a corner. You need one of those 4 spots. And the Raiders need an offensive tackle and they need a corner. So I don't know why you would pass up on those positions to take a guy who might be on the field, if you're lucky, for 25% of the snaps, 30% tops his rookie year. I would even take a wide receiver like Chris Olave over him. So hopefully someone else takes him and realizes that they invested a ton of capital, and the Raiders have to hit this needs to be a foundational piece going forward, because they've lost so many of these. Let's be honest, the 5 first rounders they had, the only one that's probably going to be on this roster maybe is Josh Jacobs. Farrell's not going to be on this roster. Abram won't. Arnett's gone. Ruggs is gone. Who knows what's going to happen to Leatherwood down the line. So this has to be a guy who's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player that's going to be on this roster for a long time. And to me, it needs to be one of the 4 positions that affect the game the most, not nose tackle.
Let's see here. So if you have the Raiders on the board, have Olave, Drake, and Dotson all on the board at wide receiver, and then looking and like they're inkling that they're going to take a wide receiver, which one of those 3 would you take? It will be hard for me to
Drake
take
London. You mean
Drake London? Yeah.
Okay. I would, and it's pretty easy for me. I'd go Drake London 1, Olave 2, Dotson 3.
Me too.
London gives you the big body, the big catch radius, the athleticism to win jump balls. He can box guys out. He can win in the red zone.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the big deep threat down the field, but in this kind of offense, like he runs good enough routes. He's got good hands. He can block, but this is a guy that can win in a lot of different ways. And the Raiders don't have an X other than Brian Edwards, and he's a much better prospect than Edwards.
Yeah.
I would clearly go Olave second because he can win with quickness and speed. He's probably going to run the 4.3s at the combine, but this guy gets in and out. He runs great routes. He can run short, intermediate, deep routes, posts. He can run digs, crosses. He's probably a Z. He's going to be a Z receiver in the league, which, again, the Raiders don't have either. That was what Henry Ruggs was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like the perfect fit for that New England style offense when you look at kind of the receivers that have had success there. And I like Dotson, don't get me wrong, but I would take the other two guys over him.
There is, Jacoby Myers is
he's a restricted free agent.
Restricted free agent? Okay, restricted. Okay, that's what he was. Okay, he's a restricted free agent. So let's see what happens there as far as that goes. Can Casey
my guess is they put a second round tender on him and he's going back to New England. They can't do original round tender because he was an undrafted free agent. Some team's gonna snap him up.
Yeah. Last question from the group was does Casey Hayward fit this defense at all?
That's a tough question. I'm going to say no, just because I think Casey Hayward shouldn't be playing a ton of man coverage. And I think by nature, Graham wants to play man. He wants to play two man. I've seen quotes from him saying like that's the best defense to play, especially against non-mobile quarterbacks. He does play a lot of cover one as well, which again is man. He will play quarters and he will play some cover three, but even in quarters, those guys are converting to man coverage a lot. He'll play some cover three, which Casey Hayward's good at. I just don't know how Casey Hayward will hold up at his age.
Yeah.
Well, you probably saw the best of Casey Hayward that you're going to see towards the end of his career. If he regresses back to what he was his last year with the Chargers, you're not going to be happy about paying him. Yeah. So I think it's, for me, I really think Bradbury's an option here because I think his contract in New York is going to be they're over the cap by about $10 million. His cap number is $21 million. They can clear about $12 million by releasing or trading him, and there's going to be a market for him. So I could easily see the Raiders in play for Bradbury either via trade or if he gets released as a free agent.
Let's see. I'm trying to find that. Grab the JS, get that contract real quick before we go to the Super Bowl. That's interesting there.
Yeah, the cap number I want to say is $21 million.
I thought he was signed. I thought he was there for longer. So this is going to be.
This is the last year of his deal.
That's the last year of his deal. So this is if they wanted this would behoove them to make that deal. I can see Wink Martindale saying, "Oh, you brought me over here. Yeah, take away my corners." But I mean, yeah, they don't got the money. They don't got the money. So
they don't have a ton of cap room. Yeah, he's on the books for $21.8 million.
What's the cap hit on this one?
Dead cap's 9.7 if they let him go. So it's about $12 million in cap space they create.
They create, yeah. They do it. It was unlikely that you got this Super Bowl, right? Nobody. I mean, I'm not sure who has the Bengals facing the Rams as far as that goes. But what are your thoughts about? So I'm gonna go real quick. I kind of feel like this is gonna be a game where the Rams kind of cover that 4.5, maybe win that game, a late touchdown to cover to go and maybe win a game by 10. As far as that goes, I do feel like there is a thing here where this kid he just has that little bit of, killer instinct as far as that goes. And their kicker, the rookie kicker has been phenomenal. I think McPherson, I forgot what his last name was, but the Bengals, I'd be really worried if it's a close game. Sometimes we all know that McVay does not handle timeouts or handle challenge flags very well, but if they leave the door open, the Bengals could be world champions, no question about it. But I kind of feel like the Rams will kind of walk away here in their building and be the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, my heart says the Rams, obviously being in LA. They train 2 miles from my house. The more I do work on this game, I think the Bengals actually have a better chance here than people are giving them. I would go the other way. I'd take the Bengals in the points. And if the Rams win by a field goal, great. I heard a stat on NFL radio yesterday that the Rams have given up the most yards after catch to wide receivers of any team in the league, and they've missed the most tackles in the secondary of any team in the league. That scares me when you're going up against Jamar Chase. I think they can run the ball. I think they're going to try. Now, they haven't had a lot of success. So if they're trying to slam it in there on 1st and 10 and they're getting into 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 8 against this Rams defense, they're in a ton of trouble because they're not going to be able to block that defensive line with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, obviously Leonard Floyd. But if they want to stay in that too high shell and they can get the running game going, and then a couple of missed tackles lead to long runs by Jamar Chase, this could be a bad game. But you flip it to the other side, the way to beat the Bengals is you got to beat the outside corners. You got to beat Owezaway and Apple, and now you have OBJ and Cooper Kupp, so they can beat them outside. Are they going to try to run the ball? If the Bengals get down here, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing because then they're going to start throwing the ball around and the Rams are going to have to tackle. My only concern is we saw them give up, 9 sacks to Tennessee. If they give up 4 or 5 sacks to the Rams, they have no chance to win this game. So if they get the ball out of the hands quickly and those playmakers on the edge and the perimeter can break tackles and pick up big chunks, I could see the Bengals winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of heartbreaking fashion for everybody in LA, but I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that happening either way because these two teams are so close. They're just so close. And where they struggle, where the Bengals struggle on the outside, they just make up for it with those safeties. I mean, those safeties are really good players. And if they let any of those guys go in free agency this year, they're going to be held to pay for that one for those fan bases because that's going to be crazy. Both of those guys are really, really good. So I think I'll go with the Rams to cover. Are you going to go with the other way with the Bengals?
I'll take the Bengals to cover, but
they can win it outright.
I think the Rams could win by a field goal. I think they could win outright, but I would, if I was a betting man, I would take the 4 to 4.5 because you're on the right side of the number anyways if it's a field goal game.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we talk about special teams a whole lot. I mean, I do not trust the Rams kicker at all. They should be only kicking the ball if it's 40 yards and in. Anything that's deeper than that, he has been horrible in these playoffs where the kicker for the Bengals has been just drilling everything. He has been hitting bombs left and right. So, keep that into account. Anything about Mr. Kyler Murray that we're $50 million man? Is that he can't be? I mean, that's not a serious thing, right? You can't be asking for $50 million.
He wants $50 million. I'd trade him right now. But I don't know. He took all the stuff off of social media. I don't. He might be angling for a new contract, but the way the season's ended the last couple of years, if I'm the front office of the Cardinals, I say no. He still has the 4th year on his deal plus the 5th year option. So I don't think he's in a position to where they need to extend him now. I'd make him go prove it again. Because my question is if it's similar to last year where this team just collapses down the stretch, they snuck in this year, but is Cliff Kingsbury going to be there if this team doesn't win a playoff game or 2 next year? Why would you extend the quarterback now? He's under contract for 2 more years. And these quarterbacks don't sit out. Like the quarterbacks that sit out, when's the last time a quarterback held out? Like I couldn't name him. No, so, I mean, these people are like, oh, he's got 2 years left on his deal. You need to pay him. You don't have to pay him. Like he's going to show up. Lamar Jackson showed up this year. Yeah. These guys, none of these guys get extended until you get into that 5th year anyways, or the summer before the 5th year. So he's still a year away from putting any sort of real pressure. And even then he's going to get if the 5th year option gets picked up, he's made some Pro Bowls. He's looking at least $30 million from that 5th year option. So there is no hurry by that front office to have to extend him at this point.
No, I mean, I know that, the Bills did something with Josh Allen, but like, how about this? How about you go to work and you play like Josh Allen and then ask for that money? Because I mean, Josh Allen's playing out of his mind and could be very well, if his 2 defensive defense coordinator and his head coach had a little bit more of a football brain there, he could be playing in this game. And and if
I could make the argument that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. I could make the argument he's better than Patrick Mahomes. Not saying I agree with it, but you can make it, and I would listen to it.
Yeah.
He's clearly in the top 5, if not the top 3, now that Brady's gone, and some of these. Now that Brady and Rivers and Manning and Roethlisberger and Breeze and all these old timers are gone, when you start looking around the league, there's really 10, 11, 12 quarterbacks, and the rest are kind of unknowns. So Josh Allen to me is clearly in the top 5 in the NFL. And if you want to tell me he's one, I'm not going to argue it.
Yeah, totally too. And I think in the future, if they're able to get home field, who's going? I just feel like that's gonna be almost an impossible place to win football games in January and February. It's gonna be in January, but it's gonna be crazy. I mean, that place is gonna be nuts. You got the Bills Mafia, all that stuff like that. It's gonna be tough to win games there. As far as that goes,
I would add, as a Raiders fan, assuming they don't get the number 1 seed, which they haven't had in a long time, just think about what they have to do in the playoffs. Kansas City, cold weather. Buffalo, cold weather. Cincinnati, cold weather. Baltimore, cold weather. New England, cold weather. Like, there is no indoor dome stadium other than their own where this team, unless the Chargers or the Colts or someone get the number 1 pick. Tennessee at that time of year could be cold weather. So that's why I do like the McDaniel's hire, because he's going to put together an adaptable offense that can win in those kind of elements. But we'll see. Joe Burrow is going to be a tough one. Mahomes, Herbert. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the AFC that are all under 25 years old.
Yeah, definitely, no question about it. So we did have a issue today with the pizza in California.
Real
quick. So what is this thing that they're saying that people in California put on that? How long have you lived in? I've been in California almost 4 years. How long have you lived in California?
31 of my 43 years, almost 32. I'll be 44 next month. So let's just say 32 years.
Okay. So if I forget, happy birthday. But so how many, nobody puts, like, I don't do pineapple on pizza. So can you tell people what was on Twitter that said, what did they say we put on pizza? No, I've never seen anybody put on pizza in California.
Yeah, so a minor league pitcher for the Braves named Matt Hartman, who's a guy that I scouted in college. He was at the University of Arizona, got signed out of Westmont College in Santa Barbara. It's National Pizza Day, so he tweeted out, every state's favorite topping or what they order on pizza. In California, it said avocado. Now, 32 years in California, I don't know one person that's ever ordered avocado on a pizza. New Mexico had carrots. Have you ever heard of anyone ordering carrots? And there was a state that had corn. Who orders corn on a pizza? Like, that sounds like an East Coast thing they put together, and they just said, "Oh, California, they like avocado toast, so let's put avocado on there." Yeah, it was mind blowing. I had to respond to that. That I don't know a single person that's. Why would you even put avocado on a pizza? That doesn't make sense.
No. Listen, it's good for you, but avocados, but it's no way it goes on a pizza. I am we are baseball fans too as well. I do want to just say rest in peace to Jeremy Giambi, and then Gerald Williams passed away as well. I remember both of those. I'm on the East Coast. I remember both of those players very well. And Giambi was obviously in that great Jeter flip play. If he slides, he didn't slide, and he's out at home plate. But yeah, that's the same. Again, those two gentlemen passed away this week as well. So pretty tough to watch that. All right, cool. Super Bowl. Raider stuff, some stuff around the NFL. Brian Flores, we got covered a lot of ground today. We'll see you next time. Anything else before we go?
I was just going to say, when I hear Jeremy Giambi, I immediately think of the movie Moneyball, when he's in the clubhouse after the loss, and Brad Pitt walks in and slams the baseball bat against the vending machine or whatever. That's just the first thing that pops in my head when I hear Jeremy Giambi.
And
then he trades him.
Yeah. So, as an avid San Francisco Giant fan, I've never seen that movie, and I refuse to watch it.
It's a good movie. You should watch it.
I can't watch it because we won a bunch of championships, and I want a movie about the Giants. I don't care about. I get really frustrated.
I will
say
that the thing they don't mention in the movie is that the reason they were winning is because they had Tim Hudson, Barry Zito, and Mike Mulder.
Exactly.
They don't mention they had 3 Cy Young Award winners in their rotation. They just talk about Moneyball and Scott Hatteberg and Giambi. They don't even mention Miguel Tejado's playing shortstop, or Eric Chavez, or they want to talk about a broken down David Justice. And Scott Hatterberg's a big emphasis in the movie. But let's talk about that pitching staff they had.
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
But it is a good movie. You should watch it.
I love baseball movies, but it's gonna be and then the only baseball movie they have about the Giants is The Fan. Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro.
All right. Well, while we're on that topic, real quick, top 3 baseball movies. What do you got?
Okay, so just for comedy's sake, I do like Major League.
Major League is number 1 for sure.
At 3 for me. For 3, it's 3.
I would go 1.
I think the first one, especially. I mean, my father and I love baseball, and like my grandfather as well. But like that was a movie that we both watched together, and we thought it was hilarious. And Wesley was in that one too, right? So it was really good. I think number 2, Sandlot almost brings that kind of tears a little bit. But it's controversial because it's not going to be Bull Durham in my top 3, which it was for a lot of people who like baseball. Bull Durham is in the top 3. My number 1 baseball movie is The Natural. I could watch The Natural I could watch Natural all day. Like all day. Like the part where he's at the plate and it's got the little blood coming out. I mean, I know it's a like not a real baseball movie. It's like a fantasy baseball movie, but I still love The Natural. I think Natural's. I love that. I can watch it all day. What's your top 3?
Yeah, I would go Major League 1, Bull Durham 2. I like Bull Durham.
Yeah, I like it too.
3, I would probably go 42. Jackie Robinson. I can watch that movie.
Great movie.
And
great movie.
I will give a shout out to. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a Bingo Long and the Traveling All Stars with Billy D. Williams.
I have not.
You need to watch.
I'm watching that right now. What was it called again?
Bingo Long's Traveling All Stars or something like that. Billy D. Williams in it. It's about the Negro Leagues. It's really good.
Oh, okay, I gotta see that one.
It came out probably early 90s. Good baseball movie. I
gotta say, man, I took a bunch of kids to go see 42.
1976. I'm sorry. It's 76? Called Bingo Long's Traveling All Stars and Motor Kings. Okay. Richard Pryor, James Earl Jones, Billy D. Williams.
Did you like Bad News Bears?
It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it gets a little too. Yeah, I wasn't big on Bad News Bears fan, but yeah, I wasn't big on that one. But yeah, that's a good. You gave me something to watch. I'll definitely go watch that one. I got some time. I'm gonna fly back east to see my mother this next week, so I will download Moneyball and suck it up and watch it. And
Bingo Long. Watch Bingo Long.
And Bingo Long too. All right, folks. Yeah. You got baseball. You got baseball stuff too. I mean, it's striking, but we got baseball stuff in there too. Yeah. All right. Take care. And don't forget to